My brother Reed and sister-in-law Nora have always wanted children. However, they are unable to conceive naturally. Nora had multiple ovarian cysts and eventually needed both ovaries removed as a teenager. Reed and Nora are in their early 30s. They're very urgent about needing to try sooner than ever because they say they're approaching an age where IVF success rates start to decline. Because of Nora's past medical issues, I'm told that she will need extra care and her round of treatments will be costly, a little over $27,000. Reed and Nora already have $9,000 set aside in savings for IVF treatments. They've raised $1,000 from friends. The rest of the family is pitching in smaller amounts as well. My mother is giving $2,000, Nora's sister Lauren is giving $1,000 and her parents are giving $4,000, which leaves about $10,000 left. Their insurance will not help cover it because they don't consider it medically necessary. Reed and Nora have also had difficulty qualifying for an IVF loan as they have poor credit. Reed and Nora are asking me to help because, according to the loan advisor, I'm allowed to take out the loan on Reed and Nora's behalf. $10,000 is a huge ask for me, and the fact that Reed and Nora have poor credit shows they already don't have a good track record of paying back loans. When I question why they didn't ask Lauren, they claim they couldn't because she isn't single and childless like I am. They see it as me not having any dependents. My mother and parents-in-law don't have a lot of savings and their earlier mentioned donations were already a huge gift for them. Correcting a bad credit score takes a long time, making things much more difficult, and, harsh as it is to say, I don't want to take out thousands of dollars in the low for a procedure that has a good chance of not even working. So I told Reed and Nora no and that their future children were not my responsibility. I also wanted to put my foot down now, because next it will be private school tuition or a college fund, which shouldn't be my responsibility just because I'm currently single and childless. Nora was obviously disappointed but told me she respected my choice. Reed was angry. He told me that he would remember this for when I'm ever in a time of need so that I'll know how it feels to have family turn their back on me. The rest of the family members told me, "We're not mad at you, just disappointed," because Nora worried for years that she would never be able to have children or be a mother. They say Reed and Nora would be wonderful parents and it isn't right that they can't conceive naturally, which I do agree with. However, I still stand with Nora and Reed's future children not being my responsibility. I don't think it's fair that I should delay or give up the possibility of starting my own family to finance Reed and Nora's. Am I the idiot? Oh heck no, you're not the idiot. That is not your responsibility. I'm sorry they're struggling, but common sense would beg the question, how could they afford the child if they can't afford IVF? The treatment may not even be successful. Beyond that, what really annoys me is how they turn to OP because they're single and childless and therefore deserve to be saddled with debt for someone's hypothetical child. As a person who is single and childless, the number of people who feel entitled to your time and resources, all while treating you as less than, is astounding. Yep, if the procedure fails, they wouldn't want to pay back anything because they got nothing. If the baby arrives, they wouldn't want to pay back because the baby is expensive. To me, they're just asking OP to eat $10,000 plus interest for years. Them already consulting loan advisors using OP's info and buying into other family members before they ask OP gives me chills. Never loan money or co-sign a note for people who can't get a loan on their own. There's a reason banks reject them. It's astounding to me that people are so bold. You should put your financial stability at risk just because they want you to. That's nuts. Finally, maybe Reed and Nora should wrap their heads around the idea that they cannot afford IVF and should consider something radical, like adoption. Here's the reality. Some people want to be parents. They can adapt. Some people want to be pregnant. There's nothing wrong with that and adoption doesn't satisfy it. I wish people would distinguish these more often. If a person can't get pregnant, that doesn't mean they will never be a parent. However, it may mean they will never experience pregnancy. For some people, that is devastating. Basically, my sister-in-law asked to take my and my husband's kids for the long weekend because it was her daughter's birthday party. We said that was fine. So she dropped the kids off on Friday and returned on Monday at 9 a.m. to grab them. I called periodically throughout the day to check in on them and was never told anything was out of the ordinary. Well, we got there to pick the kids up at 9 a.m. and our two sons were still sleeping, which is not normal. They're super early risers and always have been, even when going to bed late. Sister-in-law makes a comment, "Oh, it's probably because of the cough syrup." I asked what she meant, and she told me that apparently she'd given both my sons an entire capful of cough syrup the night before because they weren't feeling well and started developing a slight cough. My youngest, young grammar school age, has asthma and had his inhaler with him. Not only that, but this entire capful of cough syrup she gave them was Adult's Extra Strength Delsim PM. My sons are a youngster and a tween. I absolutely lost my crap. I told my husband to get the kids packed up immediately and went off on my sister-in-law for intentionally giving my sons a very high dose of Adult Extra Strength cough syrup when she knows we do not use cough syrup. My mother is a doctor and has told me doctors advise against it due to it being a cough suppressor and being unable to push out the phlegm, which can lead to pneumonia. Not only that, but she didn't even tell me before giving it. So I said she would never ever see my kids again, and we left. Of course, she was crying when we took off. I'm being told by multiple people that I overreacted because my boys are fine. I fail to see how that makes this better. Am I the idiot? Edit, it's been made clear multiple times that we don't give our kids cough syrup. She's argued with us several times because she gives her kid every medication known to man, and we don't. She knew what she was doing and we wouldn't be okay with it. She made comments of, "Oh, they're perfectly fine, I told you it was safe," BS when I was flipping out on her. Zero remorse. I do want to clear up a bit of confusion here on dosage. An entire capful of this adult strength Delsim is 30 milliliters. That means she gave a dosage 4 times too high in an adult strength medication. She didn't say anything to you about their developing coughs and dosed them with full strength adult cough syrup. She dosed your kids so they'd sleep. I'd never be in the same room as her again. You are not the idiot. I bet they weren't even developing a cough. Maybe because I come from a crappy family, but I'm guessing either she wanted to sleep in that day, and the 2 boys had already proven to be early risers all weekend, or she was proving her point, that cough syrup was totally harmless. I lead toward the former, but I've known people to do the latter, so it's a toss-up for me. I wonder how often she gives that to her own child. Doesn't matter who she is to you, she absolutely cannot be trusted with children. This is in no way negotiable. She may promise never to do it again, but there are many decisions to make when caring for children. Unfortunately, you cannot trust her to make the most obvious safety calls. So you must make the safety call to protect your kids from incompetent care. Honestly, I would call your doctor for advice, even if the kids seem fine right now, and I'd also be tempted to talk to your doctor about your worries for your niece. I, 31 female, recently bought a condominium in the downtown area of my large city. My husband passed away 2 years ago, and I just now feel like I'm getting my feet back under me and moving on in some ways. I was away last week for a girls' trip, the first trip like that I've taken since he passed. While I was away, my sister, 36, her husband, 38, and 2 kids, a male teen and a female tween, had a night in my city on their way to a vacation destination. I was disappointed not to be able to see them, but I offered to let them stay overnight at my place and they accepted. I gave them the codes to the door and the lay of the land, restaurants, etc. All good. The only caveat I mentioned to her was that in the master bathroom, I had some personal photos hanging just so she was aware. About the photos, they were taken by my husband on our honeymoon and they mean a lot to me. He was a photographer and took these shots of me at a waterfall and a stream we encountered during the hike. They are no clothing artistic pictures of me. I keep them up in my private space at home as a reminder of our times together. Well, my sister wasn't pleased that they were up. She said she didn't know that's what I meant by personal photos, and that I should have given her more warning since they would be looking around my new place. I said I didn't consider those kind of photos a big deal. They're from 6 years ago, a different time in my life after all, and I had given her a warning in any case. She went on to say some stuff that I thought wasn't constructive, including that having photos like that would be a turn-off to any future guys I date, and it's kind of narcissistic. I think she said that stuff out of annoyance, but I didn't appreciate it. Anyway, am I the idiot? Should I have given her more warning? Not the idiot. You gave her forewarning and maybe she just shouldn't have invaded your private space. Also, the things she said were rude. Good for you to be happy and confident enough to be able to hang those pictures and enjoy the memories they bring. If any issues arise with future partners, I doubt there will be any problems, they can be discussed then and are none of your sister's business. You deserve an apology. Nobody cares what your sister thinks about your home decor, in your private space no less. The only thing you should have heard coming out of her mouth was, "Thank you so much for letting us stay for free at your place while we were in town." Sheesh. You can, quietly, let it be the last damn time your sister darkens your door. My sister is in the hospital following open heart surgery and asked if I would take her dog for the 4 to 6 week healing time after the surgery. I, of course, said yes. My wife didn't seem to have a problem with it originally either, but now there are issues. My wife has sensory overload problems, mostly when it comes to sounds. Anything loud sets her off. The dog isn't inherently loud, but I mean, when she eats, drinks, or even licks herself repetitively, it absolutely drives my wife insane and has been since about a week in. She's been here for 2 weeks. The other issue is that if my wife tries removing herself from the situation, the dog immediately follows her. She really likes my wife and will try her damnedest to be as close to my wife as physically possible, where she, of course, starts licking herself and further making my wife angry. I've attempted to intervene and get the dog away from her. Still, it doesn't take long for the dog to get back to wherever my wife is, and at this point, even the sounds of the dog's nails clicking against the floor behind her are setting my wife off in a fit of rage. Yesterday, the dog was sitting on the floor beside the bed and immediately started licking herself. She is definitely an excessive licker. Finally, my wife started losing her cool completely and said she can't do this anymore, and asked me to bring the dog somewhere else for the remainder of the time that my sister was healing. My mom would take the dog, but she's elderly and in a wheelchair, and while the dog isn't rambunctious, I don't feel comfortable taking the chance. No one else wants to take her. So I said no, and we wouldn't have her much longer. She basically told me to go screw myself and that this was a deal breaker for her and I wouldn't see her again. She packed up and left for her mother's. I'm being told I'm in the wrong. Edit, I didn't ask my wife if we could take the dog. My sister called while I was at work and I agreed to take the dog without consulting her. My wife simply didn't appear to have an issue until recently. You are the idiot. You open your story by saying you agreed to have the dog for 4 to 6 weeks, and your wife didn't seem to have a problem with it. If you agree to board someone's dog for that long, you need to have a conversation with her first. Not just assume that he'll be okay or she didn't seem to mind. Dude, does your home not have doors? Seems like you had plenty of opportunity to shut you and the dog in one room and let your wife have some space. But you appear to be behaving like a selfish idiot, so you didn't do that. You just let the dog terrorize your wife because it likes her. Newsflash, I don't care who the dog likes. You're not married to the dog. You're married to your wife. You're choosing to live with your sister's dog instead of your wife. The dog probably whines and scratches at the door. I'm feeling for the dog here. It's been suddenly separated from its home and person, and anxiety probably exacerbates things like the licking and scratching. Any chance OP could ask about allergies? Bathe the dog? Get it a lick mat to go to town on in another room with OP? Are earplugs an option for your wife? OP, why don't you stay at your sister's place for the remainder of the time you have the dog? That way your wife can be in her own house, and the dog is back in its home environment. You are the idiot, OP. You cannot seriously pretend like uprooting the dog wouldn't cause issues for her and your wife, especially since you know your wife has sensory issues and that dog licks herself constantly. People are either stupid or idiots in situations like this. Pick one. While I'm sitting at my computer, headphones on and watching a video or something, distracted, deaf to my surroundings and partially blinded by my computer screen in general, my boyfriend will come up behind me and either tap or touch me, sometimes slipping a hand on my shoulder or sneaking a cheeky squeeze. My instant response almost every single time is to jump and be mad. I'm startled and can feel the adrenaline pumping in my blood. I'll usually glare at him and snap at him. What the heck? Or don't do that, something along those lines. That's it though, it's never escalated beyond that. Rather than apologize or just move on, or better yet, just stop doing that when I clearly have this big, bulky headset on over my ears, my boyfriend immediately gets mad. He says I have zero reason to be scared and react that way. When I reason that, in that split second where he touches me, I don't know who it is, he responds, well, who else would it be? He genuinely, earnestly gets upset at me every time, to the point I feel like I'm insane for reacting how I do. I'm not mad once the initial fright soon dies down, I only remain mad because he's upset with me for reacting in a 100% instinctual way, and in a way I believe pretty much everyone else would respond. It's literally to the point where he stormed off to his office just now and didn't want to talk to me, and I can't help but feel like I'm crazy and the only one who would react this way in this situation. So I gotta ask for my own sanity, Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot, and you should really think hard about whether you want to be with someone who seems to enjoy startling you to get a reaction. And then he gets mad at you for the reaction. Whoa, this isn't normal or healthy. Don't question your own sanity. The question is whether or not he's decent, willing to apologize, and never do this again. If not, you are seriously better off without someone like this. Yes, this reminds me of my friend's abusive boyfriend who would press them to a sensitive part of her body whenever his hands were cold to startle her. She hated it and asked him to stop, and he never would. Instead, he would get mad at her for not finding it funny. Eventually, she started having anxiety attacks whenever someone touched her. Little things like these add up. Girl, he's gaslighting you big time. What he's doing would startle anyone. He knows this. He does it exactly for this reason. This is all a game to him. Startle you, get you upset, then act like he's the victim. And he's just getting warmed up. This will get a lot worse. OP, please leave this guy.